I've had, a number of different, Delta guys on, and, they'll share a couple of details here or there, but just super tight-lipped, and it's, it's almost of mythic proportion how secretive it is,
Yeah.
which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And I also think, to your point of it's the only selection process by yourself, I would say not only that, but it's also the only one where it kind of broils in uncertainty constantly.
Right.
Any other selection process within the soft community, there's a certain level of certainty.
Right.
Okay, well, we're doing this for this amount of time. And there's a block of time that you're there for, but there's no other selection course that has such a vague standard of excellence, and I think that, from a human nature standpoint, you could argue that that's one of the most stressful things in the world. And that's why most people aren't entrepreneurs, as an example, is because of the uncertainty that comes along with it, and most people aren't wired for it. You mentioned that there was an incident at 15 that kind of either dictated or foretold. Can you share that?
Yeah, I think this is very relevant. So I had what I call a gateway experience at the age of 15. Okay, and I'll share the story. But basically, this gateway experience that I had has set me on a trajectory through life that has literally allowed me to be all that I can be. By the way, that was the Army motto when I first went in: "Be all that you can be," and I still live by it today. Be all that you can be. But to give you some perspective of where did it propel me to, and where am I at today? Well, I live in 3 countries right now. I've got 3 homes, three families, extended blended families. I have multiple international businesses. I do a lot of different things. I'm still in the security space. I do a lot of recovery type work. I do very niche type security stuff. People call and go, "Hey, I got an issue. Like, for example, can you find my daughter, bring her back from this country?" Or, "Hey, my husband got kidnapped in Saudi Arabia. Can you go find him, right? Here's a bunch of money." So I do some stuff like that. I do recoveries where I go into countries and I bring people out over the borders. Call me a mule if you want, but I bring out people that they're Americans and they've been done wrong, basically, So, but anyways, so I do niche work in that space. I have a security company in Indonesia. Provide explosive detector narcotic patrol dogs for like all the Marriott properties on the local venues. And then I got a bar, restaurant, lounge. I also have another enterprise where it's involved in not gold mining, but it's a humanitarian project where we help basically small level gold miners. There's a lot of them, especially in Indonesia. 20-something thousand in the jungle panning for gold. We help them get their gold to market so they get maximum profits for their money. They skip all the middlemen. So we do stuff like that. Helping with medical, bring doctors in, field hospitals, schools. It is a humanitarian project. It's 9 figures, I'll tell you that. It's a big project. Those are just some of my enterprises there. Then I've got other stuff that I do in the Philippines, and of course some virtual stuff that I do, include my coaching program. So I live this life where I'm sovereign. I don't answer to nobody. I haven't since I left the military, and since 9/11. I get up when I want, I go to bed when I want, I do what I want, travel where I want. I live a good life. And remember, I'm the guy that had a dad that was 11th grade education, mom had 9th grade education. I went in the Army as dumb as a rock, but I took advantage of that time. I got my bachelor's degree, I got my master's degree, went in, I got my PhD when I was in the OGA. Actually downrange. I got my whole doctoral degree downrange. If I wasn't slinging lead or lifting weights or sleeping, I was studying, right? So that's a little bit about some more of my background on the civilian side of the house. But this experience that I'm alluding to, this gateway experience at age 15, here's what happened. So as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in Germany, lived in American communities. We had lots of them at that time back in the 70s. And all these communities, like the one I lived in, it was Pattonville in Stuttgart, Germany. We had about 1,000 families living there, American families. And so what does 1,000 Americans do in a small community? It's like an island of Americans in Germany. Well, they have intramural sports for kids, right? We have one movie theater. We had one TV network, one radio station, right? So not like it is today. So I ended up, I like playing sports. I was an athlete. I've been an athlete all my life. And So this particular year, I decided I'm going to play baseball. Right now, I've never played baseball before. I'm really good at football. As a running back for football, as basketball, I'm really good at basketball. But baseball, I don't think I'll try it. So we had two baseball teams just in my community. We had the Pattonville All-Stars or Pattonville Royals. Now, you can imagine all the Pattonville All-Star guys were the good guys, right? Because the coach knew who to pick. And the new coach, which was my coach, got all the leftovers, the runts like me, right? And so I ended up playing left field. If I didn't get left out of the game altogether, I sucked. I mean, I sucked really bad. I mean, Dale was afraid of the ball. I'm not going to lie, right? And so, but I wanted to play. And so I remember one day, now I played left field, and we're going to play the Pattonville All-Stars. It's a Thursday. And the reason I remember the details so well, besides I've told the story so many times, the reason I remember all the details is because information is tied, or memory is tied to emotion, right? The more emotional experiences, the longer you will remember it in greater detail, right? Think of something, the worst things you ever happened to you 10, 15 years ago. You're like, man, it's like it just happened a while ago, right? There's a reason for it. There's a reason I remember all this stuff. And so it's Thursday afternoon. We're going to play the Pattonville All-Stars. And coach walks up to me and goes, hey, Comstock, you're going to play third base. I'm like, oh, I've never played anything but left field. And that's not even playing because you kind of stand out in the field, look at the sun, swinging at butterfly, throwing grass, watching everybody else play. And I'm going to play third base. And being son of a soldier, it's like, yes, sir, 3 bags full, put me in, coach, right? You're not going to say no. But I got to lie, I ain't gonna lie, I was scared shitless, right? And everything I imagined could go wrong went wrong, right? So, I mean, literally, line drives were coming at me. I could have caught it. I'm like, and I duck and it'd go by me, It got so bad that the parents from the other baseball team would come over to the third base box and they're chewing my ass, like, gee, you're not even on my team, All right. The old saying, it takes a village, I guess, to raise a child. And that day it did. So, well, anyway, we lost badly, probably in large part because of my lackluster performance. So I remember I went to the dugout and I waited till everybody cleared the baseball field before I came out, And I went home next day. It was Friday. Didn't quit. I went to practice in the afternoon. Now, this is the craziest part. So I show up just waiting to get my ass reamed by everybody. And coach goes, Comstock, we're playing All-Stars tomorrow morning, 0800, and you're playing catcher. I'm like, what? Right? It's like, did you not see what I didn't do yesterday? It's like, this is crazy, right? It's like, is he mucking with me or what? So, but again, it's 3 bags full. So I had about 30 minutes, if you want to call it practice, because the sun is starting to set. Put all my gear on, and so I'm squatting down, batters up there, pitchers throwing the ball, and I'm just getting input from everybody. Hey, look out, when this happens, look out for that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, yeah. It was just sensory overload. I didn't get no practice, basically. I'm just kind of on my squatting on my ass, yeah, okay. And then it's like, okay, time's up. It's getting dark. Holy shit. And so, see you tomorrow morning, baseball field 0745. So I walk home, and I'm thinking to myself, what did I just get myself into? Right? I'm sitting there thinking, what did I just get into? I just agreed to this, and now I'm thinking, well, what if I just don't show up? They'll have to get somebody else, right? And I thought, no, you said you'd be there, so you got to be there, right? This goes back to the military mindset, the military culture, right? This was ingrained in us as kids from our parents, our fathers. And that's a stark difference between, I hate to say it, but civilian life and military life. There's a huge difference. Even today, I experience it in the business world, big difference. And so, as I'm walking on, I go, no, you can't do that. You said you would be there. You got to be there, right? I mean, you're going to sacrifice yourself, and you're going to humiliate yourself, whatever it takes. You're going to go out there and get slaughtered. But you said you would do that, right? So go do that. So, that was the logic. Most people would have never showed up. So I go home, and as I'm thinking, what in the hell can I do? Because I don't want to go through this again. It's humiliating, right? And so I had an idea. I said, I got it. I know what I'm going to do. So at that time, in the 70s, is when they came out with the boom box, right? The speakers, and everybody got one of those. I had one. A little Iowa is what it was. I remember it had the headphones on it and the cassette tape. And I said, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay in bed, listen to my favorite song, because it kind of revved me up.
What song was it?
It was Daz by Brick. Disco Daz. I still got it, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was my favorite song at the time, right? So I lay in bed, put my headphones on. It's probably about 8 o'clock at night at this point. And as I laid in bed, I just imagined playing this baseball game tomorrow as a catcher. And I visualized myself making all these plays, double plays, triple plays, all by myself. I said, okay, I can't let any balls go past me. If I got to sacrifice my face, my balls, whatever it takes, to stop it and keep it to my front where I can manage the field, that's what I got to do. But I can't let it go behind me, right? Because if I got to run to the back and pick it up, it's like, okay, what just happened, right? So I'm strategizing everything. I'm thinking about it in my mind. I see myself literally as a one-man baseball team out there, and I mentally rehearse every contingency for hours that night, probably 6 or 8 hours, over and over and over, to the point where I could literally, laying in my bed, I could feel the sun on my face, the breeze. I could feel the baseball, the threads in my fingers, the mitt. I could feel everything. I'm actually there doing it. It's like I projected myself into the future, but I'm conscious when I'm doing this. And what it is I was literally programming my subconsciousness is what I was doing, right? So there's different terms for it, spinal tuning, basically calibrating the nervous system. But I was programming the subconscious. It's a form of self-hypnosis, auto-hypnosis, but I didn't know that. So I'm going through it because I'm desperate, right? And I fall asleep. I wake up in the morning, put my kit on. I still remember everything, man. I had black and orange Adidas cleats. I remember walking, to the baseball field, walking through the cloverleaf grass. The dew had the toes were wet from the grass, the moisture. I had number 43 jersey. It was blue and yellow and white, blue and yellow white hat, and as I'm walking to the baseball field by myself, I remember I was very stoic. It was like I wasn't anxious. I wasn't full of fear, nothing. It was just very stoic. I remember that. And so I show up, and coach is there, and he goes, Comstock, he goes, get up, start warming up with the pitcher. Roger that, sir. Shit on, get down behind the plate. Let's do this. Start throwing the ball. Then it happens. All the parents, right, freaking hyenas. Coach, what the hell is he doing out there playing catcher? Our boys want to win again. And they come out on the field and they confront him right next to me, man. They're not even like right in front of me, and they're talking shit, and I'm just, whatever. I'm just catching the ball. And then, and this is the first time I really seen leadership. Now, my dad taught me a lot about leadership, and I'll talk about that in a minute as well. But this guy, he's a new coach. He was a soldier, probably an E4. And this was a little part-time thing when he was on duty, active duty. His day off, he was coaching us, right? He's a really good guy. I still remember that. And so we stand there, and they're fucking giving him an earful, right? And they're like, literally, man, they're mad because I'm playing catcher. And so the coach, he says this. I still remember, I'll paraphrase it, but he goes, listen, he goes, I'm the coach. I decide who plays, where they play, when they play, how long they play. He goes, that's my job. Because your job as parents is going out to sit there and support your children. He goes, you want my job, you can take it right now. Otherwise, get the hell out of here. Right? He's talking shit to him, too, right? And they're like, okay, and they walk off. I'm like, whoa, right? Coach got my back. And then he looks at me, he goes, what are you looking at? He goes, keep warming up. Sure, right? So then I thought, maybe this guy sees something in me that I don't, right? Maybe he's got some faith in me. Maybe he saw something, some inkling of hope, some spark of possibilities, said this guy can do this. I just got to give him the chance, right? And so I gave me a little bit of confidence. And so game starts. Everything I imagined happened. I made double plays by myself, triple plays by myself. Not one ball got past me, dude. I had some bruises. I took a beating. I stopped every freaking ball, right? And when the game was over, both baseball teams formed up on the mound with the coaches out there and the referee, the umpire, and they called me front and center. They awarded me the game ball as the most valuable player, and I played catcher from there on. I was a badass catcher. I went from 0 to hero overnight. And I thought, how did I pull that off? And I never forgot that lesson. So now let me fast forward. This is an important story. So this has to do a lot with the mindset, right? What I didn't know, this thing had a name and was actually a thing. I didn't know what it was, right? I didn't learn that till later in life. And so now, 82nd, right? It's time to either retire or stay in. I get the letter. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to do this, right? So I started my training program. Now, here's what was cool, too. In the 82nd, my platoon was really excited, my entire chain of command, that I got the opportunity to go out try for Delta. Out of 15,000 paratroopers, I was one of few that actually got to go. And so I'll never forget, man, the chain of command was like, hey, listen, Comstock, just show up for work, do what you got to do, train, whatever. You don't have to participate in anything we do, just train. We want to see you make it. Now, that's support right there, right? That's real support. Like when you have a unit that's behind you, like we want to see our guy make it. That was pretty cool. So here's what I would do. So I had 9 weeks to train. I would get up every morning at 0500. I had to be in the barracks at, I think, 6:30, 7 o'clock. We had PT formation, right? So what I would do is I'd get up in the morning, put on my jungle boots, my running shorts, my T-shirt, and I had an 82-pound jungle rucksack, right? 82 pounds. That was my standard load. Now I only weighed 164 pounds. That was half my body weight on my back. I would literally every morning run to work 5 miles, okay? Because I lived off a post, but I'd run down Riley Road, end up at 313. Drop ruck, put on my running shoes, go downstairs with my platoon, and whatever we did for PT, we did. If it was a 5-mile run, 10-mile run, guess who's doing that? I'm doing that too. So I do that. And then somewhere during the day, I'd get some sleep, eat some chow, and then after lunch, I would do one of several things. I would either do a 13-mile run around Fort Bragg, or I'd go down to the 82nd Motor Pool. And it was kind of like in a depression, and it was probably about 4 or 5 stories worth of stairs going down to it. And I'd take my rucksack, go down there, and just climb stairs, up and down, up and down, up and down, manage my heart rate. And then maybe I'd go for a run, or from there I'd go to the gym, and I'd go work out, right? I wasn't a big gym guy at the time. I was actually pretty small. But I'd go, lift some weights. And then at COB, at the end of the day, jungle boots went back on, rucksack went back on, 5 miles back home. Right? I did that every day. Now, on Saturday, I would literally run 13 miles on Saturdays. I had a circuit that I would run in the Fayetteville area. And I didn't run slow either, by the way. I could move out. And I think my best time is 11:36 with running shoes and 12:36 with combat boots. But and I would do that. The only day off was Sunday, right? And I did that for 9 weeks. And I became obsessed with the idea of being a Delta operator. I remember one morning on a Saturday, like 8 o'clock, man, I got my ruck on. I'm leaving the neighborhood, right? I'm going to go do a ruck. And this guy rides by on a mountain bike, right? He's got long hair, bushy mustache. He's got the signature pager on his side, right, back then. And he goes past, and he turns around, comes back, and swings back around. He goes, "You getting ready for something?" Well, yeah. And he goes, "Good luck. Hope to see you." And I knew exactly who he was. I was like, see, I want to be that guy, riding on a bike, going, "I hope to see you," right? And so that really inspired me even more. So off I went. So I was, like I said, it was just obsession, man. I would literally eat, sleep, drink, have sex, Delta Force. My wife would say, "Babe, let's go to bed tonight and have sex." I go, "No, let's go to bed and talk about Delta Force." That's how committed I was. Man, I couldn't think of nothing else. So about 2 weeks before I had to go to selection, so I'm 7 weeks into my training. Dude, I was in the best shape of my life. I mean, I was like, holy shit. I could move I could run faster with 82 pounds on my back than the average guy could without anything but his running shoes. And I would do it. I'd run up and down the 82nd Street, Ardennes, and just smoke people, man, with a ruck on. It became it was like my shirt. So I get orders from Department of Defense says, "Oh, you're being levied to Fort Polk, Louisiana. You're going to be assigned to a mechanized infantry unit. You're going to go live in the swamp, basically." And I had a report date come in like a month later, which would have been while I was in selection. And I was thinking, shit, you know what? Now I'm on levy. I'm supposed to go clear a post, turn on my gear, do this. There's a lot of administrative stuff you got to do. And oh yeah, I bought a small house for me and my wife and my kid. And I got to either rent this or sell this. I got to move all my household. There's a lot of stuff you got to do, right? And I thought, if I do that, that's really going to interfere with my training. And I made a decision. I said, you know what? Screw it. I ain't doing it. I'm just going to keep training. I'm just going to know this shit, right? Knowing that if I fail, I'm probably going to end up in Charlie's Chicken Farm, CCF, right? I'm going to end up in jail, right? And then get busted and all kinds of bad things were going to happen to me. But I said, you know what? I'm going to make this. So I did blow it off. I went to selection, and I turned some pretty fast damn times, man. I'll put it to give you perspective. After a 5-event PT test, 100-meter swim, I could run with a 45-pound rucksack plus water. I could do 18 miles in 2 hours and 56 minutes through the mountains of West Virginia. Yeah. Dude, I was fast. I was the fastest, man. And but I don't know what the fastest time was, but I just know I was in my bed 30 minutes before the next guy ever showed up. I already showered, ate, and lay in bed like, oh, it's here. The 40-mile, I won't even go into the times on that. That's confidential, but same thing. I blew the doors off that. In fact, I won't even go into the time standard on that one. But what I can say is this: I only stopped twice, 2 times. First time I stopped was for 2.5 minutes. That was drop my ruck, get MRE out, rip it open, right? Put my ruck back on and walk and eat. And then the next time was about 3 hours later. I stopped for 1 minute and 45 seconds to take a dump, right? Offload, download, offload. That was it. That's all I stopped, 40 miles, right? And just kept going and going and going. And it was raining, it was cold. And also on that one, I was the first one done, right? And so I made it through that because the reason I made it through it because all I could imagine was being a Delta Force operator. Now, here's the thing, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I'll use, for example, what's his name, David Goggins, all respect for that guy, what he does. But I remember he said he went through selection and he got an owie, hurt his ankle, whatever, was a medical withdrawal. I'm not sure if he followed it twice or just once, but nonetheless, he made a comment about, yeah, I hurt my ankle and they pulled me out, and then he told me later, I can try again, but that's what they tell everybody they pull out, right? But that's not a big thing. But here's what I would argue. A lot of guys, probably him included, they were so focused on making it through selection, right? And that's where they failed. And here's what I mean by that. Instead of me focusing on, I got to get through selection, I was like, I got to be a Delta operator. The selection piece is just a step to that end, but that's the objective. This is not the objective. This is just part of the path, the trailway there. So in different mindset, I saw the outcome. The outcome was me, my little bushy blonde mustache, which I could barely grow at the time at 22, and my fluffy, freaking Chuck Norris hair, seeing myself as a Delta Force operator. I saw myself as the guy on a mountain bike, riding a bike, and I saw myself, gunslinging, doing the stuff that you can imagine Delta Force guys do. That's all I could think about. The selection piece was like, that's just an interim step to that end. That wasn't all my concentration, right? That was just part of it. So I would argue a lot of guys, they fail because they spend too much time focusing on this piece and not really on the goal, on the objective.